just have two quick questions. One is, of course, flipping what Sarvesh asked, is that what is it that, flipping the questions in terms of what is your expectations from CCOs and corporates in this whole changing environment? What is that one advice that you will give them? We've had a day-long conversation on how CCOs can become more relevant to the boardroom discussions and shape those conversations. But given the experience that you've had, you've seen a lot of this happening over so many years. What is it in today's context would you advise them? The second question is an extension of that. Do you see any, the corporate partner agency partnership, do you see that getting shaped any differently given the VUCA world that we operate in?
I think the complexity will force us to change it. Market forces will force you and force me both to change it. It's a matter of time. On what are the things that should govern this relationship, this is a question that was raised by the independent board members about evaluation on how do we judge what work the CCO did. And CCO will ask, how do we judge the work that we did? There's so much ambiguity about the work that we do, what we put in and what comes out, other than measuring TRP or advertising value equivalent or something else. Unless you have a clearly defined objective, it's very difficult to measure it. Then you are only measuring share of voice or so it's input measurement, output measurement, outcome measurement, or business outcome measurement. So if the CEO says, or if you say on behalf of the CEO, that I would like a program that pushes the government or nudges the government, and there is no company that does not have a policy issue today. If you are 1,000, 2,000 crores, kahin na kuch problem hai. It may be related to energy consumption, it may be DST, it may be tax. Can communication process help? 100% it will help. It will help with the center, it will help with the states, it will help with municipalities sometimes. So defining the problem that we are solving and not generalizing, but what is the standard agreement today? It says, and आपके RFP भी वैसे आते हैं. Most of you write pathetic RFPs, which says increase awareness, build thought leadership, and help in crisis management, and something else. It is never a specific definition of the problem. And how do we respond? We'll build awareness, we'll increase thought leadership, we'll do CXO positioning, get 4 authored articles, and this. And then what will it do? The deliverables will be 2 press releases in a quarter, 1 press conference in 6 months. I mean, we're just fooling ourselves. I'm fooling myself. Because it doesn't lead to any outcome. What will you measure against that? So you come to me and say, I have this important agenda as a business, and this agenda is based on the success, or will be dependent on the success of this constituency or this stakeholder. Whether it's a capital market, like if the demerger of Vedanta has to succeed, there has to be a consensus in the market that this demerger is good for all stakeholders. It's good for the country also. Unless you create that consensus building is my job. But you must define that problem for me. If the problem is not defined, we will be doing exactly what we have been doing for the last 20-30 years. So the significant shift must be to help define. And if you see this debate on evaluation has been going on for the last 100 years. Even now, every forum still has one session on metrics and evaluation. Kyun? Lawyer case mein kabhi nahi hota, doctor case mein kabhi nahi hota. Business consultants never have a metric and evaluation. Why is only PR struggling with it? When everything is ambiguous. So when the Barcelona principles were drafted 10 years ago, the first thing was, is the goal clear? If the goal is clear, if you give me a goal, my share of voice has to be number 1, then measure me on that and not on anything else. If the goal is my regional media penetration must go up, or we must have this kind of appreciation in the capital market, or my IPO must succeed with 10 times oversubscription. Give me a specific goal, it becomes a lot easier to come back with a program to solve the problem. Otherwise, and I'm very disappointed with my own fraternity inside in the consulting business, which is afraid to ask these questions to the client. You cannot serve the client well till you can sit still for 10 minutes and have a conversation. So one of the skills we are seeing in the consulting profession is this ability to sit with the CEO and ask some questions. and make sense of what he's saying, because they often don't talk, and then you help him re-articulate the problem in a leading online brokerage. Not Zerodha. Zerodha was mentioned in the morning, and of course I have a take on why Zerodha is where Zerodha is currently. Within the last 2 years, what has happened to them? The comms head gave us standard 10-point brief. I want this. Fair. Nothing was wrong. He went to the CEO, escalated it, and he says, I want to be known, my fundamental thing, and I'll measure you against that, is I should be positioned as a company promoting responsible investing in this country. And 2, I want to be known as a company for mature investors and not for the rookie investor. Very specific. The CEOs tend to be specific. In a company, another company which is into two-wheelers, that company says, look, I'm a founder, my shareholding is only 8% right now, but this company, my promoter group, which slowly has kept on increasing, their shareholding is now 40%. In the communication program, how will you land that? And somebody else, of course, has a marketing communication related problem, somebody else has something else. So define the problem clearly, and that is 2/3 of the battle won.
Thank you.
Yeah, wait, once. We have Rudolph. I just want to ask the permission of the House. We said 6:30 will end. There's a thought, it's 5 minutes to 6:30. If the House allows us, can we go to 6:45, 15 more minutes? Those who feel you can't do that, you can leave at 6:30, 35, have your drink or whatever. But if you can do it till 6:45, that's great. Is that okay? Yeah. So go on, Rudolph.
Sir, I am Rudolph from Mangalore Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited. Sir, rather than doing preventive or corrective PR, keep reputation management as your central idea, you said, and have conversation, make sense. Sir, in your opinion, among the PSU organizations that you have either worked or observed, who is doing admirably well in this path?
I can't name a company, and it's in a slightly questionable area.
Okay.
But it is into fossil fuels. Let's say energy based on fossil fuels. It had the intelligence to come proactively and have a conversation, and we defined the problem statement as follows. The problem statement was, in this energy debate, because now there is clean creative and all this nonsense that's happening all over the world, and Mr. Edelman is being called out every second day by someone. Even the United Nations chief has told PR agencies not to work for fossil fuel companies 3 days ago. It's unprecedented. So he called and said, we had a discussion in which the central statement was, this is an imperative of society, and yet we have practical issues of changing over from our entire asset of $20 billion of production capacity of, let's say, energy or power to green fuels tomorrow. So can we moderate the debate in society to say, ye karna hai, we are committed, but it will take time. Can you build a new set of expectation in the stakeholders that matter? So that's a kind of a thing. But in general, otherwise, a CPCL will come and say, oil spill ho gaya, and now everybody is shouting, the villagers are there, they are not going away. And it's a reactive thing. You're putting up a refinery. I mean, they're really funny things. You're putting up a refinery that's going to cost $5 billion on the west coast. It is not taking off. Why? Because the villagers are protesting. Why are the villagers protesting? Nobody has gone and investigated. But the fundamental problem is, those villagers are saying, if I move away from the highway where my village is and my shops are, I don't have a livelihood. But they have another problem, and that's a हमारा गांव देवी का मंदिर है इधर. गांव देवी का मंदिर है. वो मंदिर हमारा 300 साल पुराना मंदिर, वो मंदिर को कैसे शिफ्ट करेगा? It's a very emotional thing. So you have to, and if you then spend 200-300 crores in a $5 billion investment, can you preemptively spend 300 crores? Very easily. What is a 300 crore in 30,000 crore investment or 40,000 crore investment? Spend it in advance and say, okay, you have a school, you have a this, you have a that, and I'm not even put my brick yet. I think the whole community will come and stand with you. Otherwise, you're getting into jharnas, you're getting into one police firing, and the project is stalled forever.
Konkan Railway did something like that.
Konkan Railway, of course, is a celebrated case, but managing, I mean, it's a long story, so maybe some other day we'll tell. But the kind of work we did on Konkan Railway has not been done in the history of Indian communications before Konkan Railway or after Konkan Railway.
Sir, I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One is, what do you think, what is your view on the own media strategy? Do you think it will become more important with the number of media houses becoming a little lesser, with print media becoming a little smaller? And also, what is your view on community building? Do you think community building can really help brands to have an engaged audience in today's times when it's very difficult to keep them with you?
I think yes. The answer to the second question definitely is yes. You must have a community, and you must have your own channels, so that even if when Shubham was in Economic Times or Bodhisattva Ganguly, unless the story has 5,000 crores number in it, they will not carry the story. Very interesting. Hey, what is this? Marketing story. They don't even the delete button. पहले auto delete है उसमें. CSR story, double auto delete. Correct? And yet for you that story is important. We had a client like HCC, Hindustan Construction Company, and they got a United Nations award for the first time for water conservation or something they got. And no newspaper carried that story. And the chairman, Gulab Chand, was very, very upset. क्यों नहीं carry किया? Of course we engineered, re-engineered, rewrote the story, went back, did whatever we had to. But you must have the power to take the story directly. What did Trump do? What did even a Modi do? Not in the second time, but the first time. He took his story directly through a Man Ki Baat, or he set up his own newspaper called Brat, which you saw in the morning today, which had a circulation of among the conservatives of several million. And anything that he wanted to say, he would tweet, and Brat would carry that story and it would go to everybody. So yes, the answer to that both, you must have the power to take your message to your constituency, which is your community, whether the newspaper publishes it or not.
Thanks. Gunjan Batra.
There is a lot of, this is Gunjania from Usha International. There is a lot of, conversations around influencers and, using influencers for PR and communications. And what is your take on that? Where is it headed?
See, I am a little weak in this area because we don't do so much of consumer work. We do some, but consumer is not our, the most, and therefore I have not paid too much attention. But influencers, where the organic influence comes. I'll give you, let's say, an example. A company is launching a new molecule. If some of you are from pharma industry, new molecule for multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. What is the story? You'll go to the newspaper with the announcement. Nobody's going to carry it. And even if they carry it first time, itna se kaake, who reads it? So you go and identify on this subject who are the active voices. We came up with 758 people who had spoken multiple times on multiple drug resistant tuberculosis. They were doctors, they were nurses, they were NGOs, they were policymakers, they were all kinds of people. You identify them, communicate with them, engage them, and then the content goes where it has to go. It could be a plant location where you had a gas leak. The communities around, you say I'm doing a lot of CSR. They don't relate to that CSR. They have some other issues. So understanding this in the context of organic influencers, I understand we have done it effectively at a macro level using KOLs or micro influencers, but the paid influencer bit, I think, much like your paid stories in the media are suspect, I think they are also suspect.
But are the masses now waking up to the...
I think that people will question that one day, and nobody knows what ROI they get on that.
Anybody else wants to ask a question to this side? No, Himanshu? Anybody else who has never asked anything today?
Lad madam, she's just joined the communication profession.
Come
Mukta.
Himanshu and Ram in a couple of minutes.
So one of the things that we noticed as to work with brand equity and Mukta, and I think this question is also relevant to PR, right? The thing is that there's so much churn in terms of talent, right? Especially in the younger talent that comes and goes and comes and goes. And when you're doing something that is like brand building, right? the longevity of your career in a thing like this really affects it, you know. I mean, when you historically are with a brand and, you know, in that ecosystem, then suddenly you're out somewhere else. Do you feel that that affects the brand at all? The fact that this churn constantly keeps happening and there's perhaps no consistency in terms of the teams which keep, you know, there's no historic sort of, what do you call it? There's no historic sort of team that is holding it together maybe for even a decade, 5 years, whatever.
No, it's a very good question, and this problem is not only there in PR. In all consulting spaces, it's the same thing. We get lots of applications now because the consulting space is in a very bad shape. There's a lot of exits happening there, so we're getting a lot of applications from there. 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, they're coming. We have taken recourse to process, to accumulate that knowledge, that a certain minimum amount of developments on that client has to be entered. That process for itself also dictates that every team must do a minimum learning program every month. That team must do at least one innovation every month. We not fully succeeded, but that has helped us accumulate all the things that have happened with that client organization. And therefore, even if that person leaves, and I've given up on retaining people. Nahi ho sakta. So I'm just holding on to some sensible people like Arva, other Aniket Thakur.
All the A's.
Aniket, Samir. I'm trying Nikhil also. So we are trying to, so the leadership level, if that is robust, is like we give an analogy of like, Marathi na tumi? Lad, Malvanche. Ratnagiri, Malvanche बाजूलाच नाही का. So the railway train apli Mumbai ji, there is a guard and there is a driver. As long as these people are there and the signal guy is working, बीच में सब पैसेंजर है, आया गया कुछ नहीं. जब तक है उसको अच्छे से ट्रीट करो, गया तो ठीक है.
Yeah, I see Ram and Himanshu, but before that, anybody else who hasn't asked a question all the way? You never asked. So Ram first, and then we'll have Himanshu. One more after that, and then we'll wind up.
Yeah.
First Ram, then
Madan?
Ram ko do. Ram. We have 3 mics. Wait.
Yeah, Madan, Ram here from Ultratech, Aditya Birla Group. You've spoken about the paradigm shift that you're trying to make for ad factors, moving away from PIU, which is still the mainstay, towards solving fundamental business problems. Yeah, you also sought the support of CCOs in this journey. So what are your expectations from us CCOs on 2 fronts? 1, what do you think is our role or should be our role in this journey? And 2, what are the capabilities that we need to embrace, acquire and build and develop as CCOs?
That's a good question, and I think the change will have to start between us before we go to the CEO. If we are both aligned on the same thing, then it is easier to have a conversation with the CEO. I think taking a couple of hours every month away from the ye karo, wo karo, ye karo, wo karo, and sit and just assess and ask us, what is your view? Are there any best practices? What are we missing out? And you tell us, look, this is what I see, how do you respond? That conversation of at least 2 to 3 hours, and if you can do 4 hours, well, that's too much time, but that conversation will really be helpful to just come to the fundamental thing. What are we trying to solve? And you will have your own view, but when you escalate it to CFO, he will add something to it. When you escalate it to a CEO, he'll add something to it. But at least that's a good starting point. And like, we are trained to respect our clients all the time, and all of you are also very respectful of the agencies. And I'm not talking only about ad factors. In general, I have seen my teams, same team working 5x effectiveness for one client and much less effective for another client because of the way they are treated. They're also human beings. It's just that we are on this side of the table and you're on the other side. So kabhi shout at us a little less.
Himanshu, you have a question, please.
No. So just a question, and this is a question for our survival. At least means I'm talking about the CCOs. In terms of earlier, the people sitting over here would be either from the agency background or from a journalist background somewhere. But what I'm seeing now is, like you said, you're getting a lot of consultants CVs. There are a lot of like EYs and all are moving into the CCOs fields. Even we are getting pitches by them for hardcore PR and marketing and those kind of things. And with alignment of the secretarial and the investor, the whole thing, the capturing is now becoming more of the consultancies towards our part of the job. And they come with certain talent.
Because we are also a consulting profession.
Yeah, but we are also consulting. But what happens is they're coming with those kind of skill sets. And with Ram's thing, where do you see our future like?
Well, jaldi se, when the tsunami comes, what do you do? Dongar matlab pahad ke upar run up the, or if you are a Adivasi, you climb up the palm tree which is on the island.
Any of you in the morning at 3 session and in the afternoon asked questions using the mic, asked questions to any of these speakers? Raise your hands. Okay. The last 30 seconds, how many of you didn't raise your hands? Neither alumni nor ask questions. You'll get the first chance to ask questions now. Cool. Okay, so let's start with that. If there are questions, we'll do. If there are no questions, I have a couple of backup questions to get Mr. Bahal going on. Yeah. Can we have Moksh, Sarika, just pass the mics to these. Shall we start with Piali?
Sarika, you didn't raise your hand.
She raised twice. Alumni plus. Yes, sir. I thought Deepa will say ladies first, so I said Piali first. Yeah, go ahead.
Be gentle.
Saab and we go long back, and we have very close working relationship with the Adventures team. One area I think, Madan Saab, you need to, you talked about getting consultants on board and all that. One area I think where the team would really add value to the clients is that a little bit more of a strategic thinking. In our working with ad factors, I think you have scored maybe 9 out of 10 in crisis management. Something happening somewhere, 4 people on the ground, and they talk to journalists, but somewhere where we need to preempt those crises from happening. How do you segment, for example, the journalist, kind of messages we throw at them, the kind of engagement, planned engagement we have with them. So that part, I think, if Ad Factor as a team needs to or would strengthen, it would really help to kind of add value to what you're doing today.
No, it's not uniformly happening. I agree with you. कहीं होता है, कहीं नहीं होता है. It is an active thing. In the new competences that we are trying to get or build of the people that were there. Let's say Siddharth आपका काम करता. So Siddharth is expected to now have the ability to make sense. Read 10 things to make. We have launched internally a tool that's called OA research. OA is open your eyes. OYE. And that you ask a few questions so that you understand what are the critical issues this company, what are the potential reputation issues they're dealing with, what are the other matters that are giving the CEO a sleepless night, what is the social media chatter, and out of all of that, what is there in the secondary domain that you can pick up to formulate a problem statement. Often the clients are not able to formulate the problem statement clearly. And when I talk to, personally, from personal experience at least I can say that when I talk to 5 people in a company to say, tell me what is the problem, they give me 5 different answers. When I talk to 5 CEOs to give me a problem statement, they have very unique understanding of what they expect from a PR firm. So every one of us will have to get to finally the CEO, not so much the board. Board को they meet once in 3 months, उनको थोड़ा बहुत idea होता है, they're seized with some things, but the CEO who's running the ship on a day-to-day basis has a much clearer idea. So we're trying to move to that the CEO has to contribute one session in a year to say this is the fundamental problem that I wanted to solve, even while you're addressing 10 other things on a day-to-day basis. So that's one. The second skill that we don't have, and I agree with you, is the ability to design a solution. हमारा तो सारा solution ठोको, प्रेस रिलीज आया ठोको, मैं आया ठोको, ज़्यादा पेन कर रहा है आपको इनका रिलेशनशिप मीटिंग करा दो, बहुत पेन 8 दिन से जा नहीं रहा है आपका प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर देते हैं. So we were trained in that. Now we are trying to say what is a designed solution that will finally, is it something related to a governance issue which is bothering the market, therefore the market cap is not going up, though you do an analyst call for the last 20 quarters? Fundamentally you get down to understanding this problem can be only solved through this kind of a composite solution, and it's not digital integration. It is integration of multiple other competences. Digital is only a delivery tool. Even in digital, we are having second thoughts on really, is digital only about Facebook posts and creative posts? I don't want to compete with a Shabang or a Ogilvy or anybody. They are doing their digital business. Advertisings are doing, my job is to digitization of public relations in the first place. So reputation is managing crisis in digital. In the first golden hour, can we intervene? Can we make sense of a coming crisis? Can we simulate crisis and give? So a lot of work of this kind is happening to bring. The third thing is resources. Our entire hierarchy, if you see, the same account executive became a manager, who became an account director, who became a group head, who became a vice president, who became a director, and then I became a managing director. हम लोग सभी कोई वही काम करते हैं. So you give the work on the top, it just passes down to the bottommost level. Now the skill that is required is to get 6 people in the room to design the solution, put a team together to execute that program. It's going to take us time, but in this 1 year, we are trying to at least reach somewhere. And if we don't, then we will not be 450 crore के 45 crore बच जाए 5 साल के बाद तो बहुत है.
Sure. So also what I see.
No, just sort of time management. One question.
You spoke about change. Now on change, are there any trends that you're seeing across companies? Because you have been, connected with most communication people, right? Most communication heads, across companies. So are there specific trends in change that you are seeing? I mean, what kind of changes are really out there, which is really something that's affecting us all?
I think if you drop the entire list, it might go into broadly 10-15 categories, but each company has its own. Somebody is saying, my change is moving from a physical channel of distribution to this. That happens in banking, for example. And that requires a different kind of communication, different kind of an audience. CDSL is my client, it's saying, my thing is moving from here to there. I want to now don't worry about the normal things that you're doing, but the government has now passed a law in which somewhere communications played a role, but we can't go into details. I want now every private company to come and demat its shares. What kind of a communication program we need? Growth is stalled. In insurance, life insurance, for example, if there's anybody in life insurance here, nobody's growing. And if they're growing, the margins are flat or declining. Growth is a serious concern that most people have. Somewhere it is related to policy. China dumping, therefore, even though I'm making a great product, but my mal is not getting over because China is selling at 2/3 the cost. So in each case, the change agenda relates to product, structure, policy, restructuring the company, changing the way the balance sheets are. And depending on what the change agenda in each organization is, there is a little communication required because every change impacts some stakeholder. And therefore understanding what that change is, who is impacted, and how to build change advocacy so that stakeholder accepts it a little better. So it's a matter of 1 hour conversation with the team, and we can figure out this is to be worked on. But this idea of a flat retainer is a dead idea, because it doesn't allow me to do anything else. The moment you come and ask me, I say, ये तो अलग से होगा पैसा. Then you say, क्या यार, जब भी देखो पैसे का बात करता है. So we'll have to think differently. Wow, and together we'll have to evolve a solution.
Yes, Manisha and then Rolf.
You don't have to be an MBA. You can be a matriculate for all I care. I never got admission anywhere. But I can go home at 2 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow I'll go home at 10 o'clock flight, I'll reach home at 1. I will read the Financial Times London, that day kya hua. I will read the New York Times. I will read what are the new articles on Harvard Business Review. I will read what is on the MIT Sloan Review. And I will gently glance out of my curiosity on Haaretz out of Israel, Global Times out of China, and Dawn of Pakistan. And then I'll sleep. But if you don't read that much, communication which operates at the intersection of all these forces, how will you tomorrow give an alert in the morning at 7 o'clock to your CEO, boss, ye ho gaya udhar, ya ho raha hai, be alert. We are like the word is never used for comms people, but the board members alluded to it. You know, like on the Titanic, there was a lookout sitting. We are the lookouts. Where is the iceberg coming from? And we have to alert our organization a little bit in advance कि ये आ रहा है. Agency करे नहीं करे, आपको तो करना है.
So I realized two things. One is that a lot of you who may have questions but may not want to ask now for whatever reason, time constraint. No, I didn't say not to ask. I said ask one question. If I follow-up question, 3-4 questions and all, that's too much. So, but I think Mr. Bahal may have an hour or so free tomorrow afternoon. I don't know.
Till 9 o'clock I'm free tomorrow.
So tomorrow, those have evening flights to Mumbai or Delhi. He's available. We'll organize this place somewhere else. A complete AMA. Ask me anything. No holds barred. Each one can ask 5-6 questions as long as we have time. 5 hours we have from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you want to do that, we can do that tomorrow. Point number 1. I'm going to end this with a quick rapid fire to him. The rapid fire will involve 3 bullet points per question. You can take 30 seconds each.
Before that, I'm going to make a small. Yes. I don't know the advisory to all the people here included some highlights around it. You just kept talking about a tribal museum, but there is a Sanchi Stupa nearby, not far. Vidisha, where Ashoka the Great was born and his kingdom was there, that is near. There's some outstanding caves. About the only place where I've seen that Narasimha, 4th avatar of Vishnu, his statue is there, partly broken by the Mughals, but still there. There is a village close by, an hour or 2 away, where a pillar, 20-ton pillar, gifted by Alexander the Great to Chandragupta or Samudragupta, stands in a village close by, erect for 200 without any rust, and it's written in Greek. So there's a lot of history around this place, so if you get some time, and there's Gyanika Dhaba, which has the best chole bhature in the town. So there's just some additional information.
Shiv Mandir is there. The Shiv Mandir is there.
Shiv Mandir is correct. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 3 questions and he'll have to answer with 3 bullet points each, 30 seconds roughly. First question is, as a CEO of India's largest firm, what gives you happiness and makes you sleep easily on good nights? What are the 3 things from all points of view that give you good night's sleep?
I think a job well done. I did my best that day. I go and sleep peacefully every night.
No, what are you doing? What the others in your environment do? Your colleagues, your clients, what does that do?
I stopped worrying about them because then I will never sleep.
So my follow-up question was, what keeps you awake at night on some bad nights? What are 3 or 4 things that keep you awake at night?
When I have a problem to which I have not yet got the solution in my mind, that keeps me awake. That problem is usually a client problem, never the organization problem.
Okay. Lastly, there are many people keep asking this question: what makes AdFactors? What made AdFactors become the #1 firm in the country? You were not #1 20 years back. You were not #1 15 years back. But 10 years back, you became #1, and it's remained. And we keep talking of numbers. So, what are 3 or 4 things? Maybe if there are trade secrets, you don't want to say, it's up to you. But things that you can say publicly. What are 3 or 4 things that made AdFactors #1? That's my last question.
See, some answers people don't agree, and this will not be a rapid answer. You have to have faith in God, that there is a larger reality at play, and that helps you to get where you get. There are wonderful clients who are sitting. I mean, if your organization is blessed that minus Reliance will work for everybody in the country, you're a blessed. You'll work for the entire BFSI ecosystem minus HDFC, which PLE doesn't like, then you'll work. Correct? So that blessing is there. There are wonderful people who have spent their lifetimes in Adfactors, joined from the campus 18 years ago, still in Adfactors. 18 years ago, Arva joined, 12 years ago, Samir joined, Aniket has been there, Himanshu came, was there for a very long time, built the IPO practice. So I think it's the collective destiny of people at Adfactors and its clients included that has made what Adfactors is. I just go like a good mistri, tuck, whole day I do, in the night I go back and sleep.
That was interesting and great. So thank you very much for being.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I think all the wonderful speakers who came in enlightened us deserve a big hand. Each one of them addressed the issues on top of our mind that we discussed with. So Amit, Prabhu and his wonderful team who put this work together. Through these 1.5 days, many takeaways. Just one takeaway, one idea, one sentence, one bullet point, sometimes one word. It's taken, absorbed, internalized. But the change in behavior, I think, makes a difference. That's the one trick I have followed. Whenever I go for a conference, I bring back only one idea for action tomorrow and then try and implement it. All sessions were wonderful. Each one had significant implications, as I said. But the last one on risk, actually we talk about risk for everyone else. And this famous part where Yudhishthira admits that Yaksha, he can have someday we should have a session on that. And when Yudhishthira was asked finally what is the most amazing thing in the world, he says, the correct response, every day countless people die and yet the living go on living as if they are going to live forever. So risk can be internalized to us is therefore an important thing to follow. The biggest risk will be the risk of redundancy. We see that in organizations, we see that in categories, we see that in PR agencies. It's a risk that we all have to be alive to. And therefore the issue would be if the same framework was applied to our own lives. What is the risk assessment? What risk mitigation plan do we have? What continuous effort we'll do, and maybe revisit that framework again after 2 years or 1 year. What therefore continuous learning we need to initiate as a part of this whole thinking, so that we remain relatively immune from the multiplicity of risks that surround our work and our profession and our organizations. The first is to go back and reflect on this and do some action. I think this as an idea is a great idea and we should have this conversation going. I would be very happy on behalf of Adfactors to facilitate as much of this we can in the industry, not only here but even other locations in Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay, wherever there are agencies and community. Both of us are well-able. And we will come to you for a job finally. I will come and work on this side. But in that sense, we have a common destiny, and therefore keeping this debate up, discussion up, so that we keep got action points all the time will be a great takeaway from this 1 year also. I've been personally very benefited from these deliberations, and there are taken copious notes, some of which I will of course take and comment. And again, I want to thank each one of you for being here, and may you find this very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bahal. Thank you to the team of Adfactors.